Hey guys, I'm going to be talking to you about Airbnbs today. Now, I'm not selling any courses. I'm not doing any kind of fun activity books. I just simply want to share our experience and the pitfalls of Airbnb mistakes and some of the dumbest mistakes we made and some of the smart things that we actually did. And there aren't too many smart things if you ask me. But here it goes. We've cycled over 30 to 40 different properties with Airbnb. Some of them have been turned into long-term from the Airbnbs and vice versa. Some of them we've sold. In all of this, I will tell you one thing. All these false advertisements about arbitrage, that's what you do to make money, or make tens of thousands Airbnb, that is not awfully true. And most of the time, that's actually just a bunch of crock. So here's the deal. If you're going to manage Airbnb, it is a full-time job. If you're going to say, yeah, I'll hire a management company, you're paying somebody else for a full-time job. So when you run your numbers, it has to make sense as if you're not running. Most people fall into is they think they're going to run it themselves. Then as soon as they start doing it and realize how much time and energy and effort putting up with people's drama is, they realize, hey, I don't want to do this. I'll just hire somebody. But once they hire somebody, they're not making a profit anymore. So it's like a double-edged sword in a cycle of getting in it, and then now you're stuck because you just made a big investment into it. If you're planning to buy a home for the purpose of Airbnb, there are only about 5 cities that come to my mind that have any sense of real estate return on your investment for investing such a large amount of money. If you own a property that you already have and maybe have a small, low mortgage, or you don't want to sell a property because it's a family property or other reasons, and you simply have a property where you're able to rent out or Airbnb, that's a different story. I will tell you that the arbitrage model is set on a couple of false beliefs. One, that most landlords want you to Airbnb their property. That is definitely not true. And number 2 is that you're still under the control of someone else. What does this mean? If your Airbnb just goes great and it's just wonderful and you have a 2-year lease, at the end of 2-year lease, your landlord could say, you know what, I want some of the action. Or they could just simply kick you out. So you've built up a Airbnb and the reviews and the setup, all that energy, all that cost, and it could be just taken away like that. The third thing is permitting. Most cities and counties are lagging behind on Airbnb. So when it just popped out of nowhere, it was a craze. It was everywhere. So cities started to clamp down on it. Counties started to clamp down on it. Now they're always behind. So by the time they pass the laws, Airbnb, the market has spoken and it has shifted significantly, meaning the market has slowed down by far. We've seen 40 to 50% drops in bookings generally throughout. And we have different types of properties. So it's not just a low end or a high-end property. It's literally throughout multiple states, generally across the board. So basically by now, Airbnb has kind of the economy itself has spoken and has kind of leveled off this Airbnb craze. However, a lot of jurisdictions are still in the process of creating these laws that forbid any type of short-term rentals. Another pitfall to look out for is that there is a special hotel tax and Airbnb tax that you're supposed to pay federally. So no matter what your profit is, you pay off the gross, so whatever you receive. And for people who are doing Airbnb under the books, Airbnb is sharing its data, especially more recently, with these cities. So cities will request, hey, what properties are and have been listed through your site? Airbnb actually sends them a list of properties. So it's very easy for them, even if it's not on there currently, meaning it's booked out for some long period of time, the local jurisdiction will get your address and know that you are doing this. And imagine them just knocking on somebody's door while you have a guest there and saying, hey, we're gonna have to evict you or move you out right now. That's not gonna be good. And I would say the average property probably takes a year to build up any kind of real traction. So from the moment you get your property, it takes about a year to really start getting real reviews in and start the traction of bookings, rebookings. It's a big financial investment. There are a few other things I want to point out. We're going to make a couple of videos about more specific specialized Airbnbs, such as vacation Airbnbs. We've got destination Airbnbs. We've got group Airbnbs where people have functions, events, weddings, etc. So we have tried a multitude of different items. I think that there is definitely room to be in the Airbnb space, and we are trying and have gone into trying Airbnbs with new construction. What do I mean? That home is built specifically for the purpose of Airbnb. You might say, well, what is the difference? Well, I'll give you a great example. In a typical home, people want storage. I mean, you can never have too much storage. Garage storage cabinets, etc. Well, in an Airbnb space, the people generally are not staying their lawn, so you don't need that. So there are many other factors of why a newly built home can differ when it's not intended for somebody staying there a long period of time. So there are those kind of factors. And then best of all, let's talk about money. Who doesn't love the cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching? So the money. Despite all these arbitrage videos and all these people making videos about how they made tens of thousands of dollars, most of them are not consistent. So what we've learned is every single booking, but for about 10%, there's a fluctuation. Some months are just insanely high, some months are insanely low. So you have to average out and run the Airbnb for at least a year, I would say even a year and a half, before you get your real average. Now, to go through that, you have to sustain that. So you have to have enough capital to sustain going through those low points, and they will come. So you got to look out for that. Utilities. What it comes down to is, in the long run, every penny counts. I'm not saying be a cheapo and count six pieces of toilet paper and literally leave, 2 straws and go into extremes. What I'm talking about is, a great example of that is air conditioning. If you have an air conditioning in your system in your house and your tenant checks out, or nobody's staying there and it's running, for example, for no reason, that's a great way. That's something that can be easily adjusted, where you can control it off your phone or other methods. So there are plenty of ways where you don't sacrifice the quality of the stay, but you look out for these type of items that you could cut back or reduce. So another thing is obviously the electricity bill. So if you have outside lights, have scheduled times where they shut off. If they want to turn them back on, that's totally fine. They can manually do that. But you're not doing something that the client is not even asking for. So that's another way. And I would say the most important aspect of Airbnb is communication. And communication and scheduling, those two items. Communication is because people don't always know what they're getting, and they've had some bad experiences, and understandable. So if you communicate, maybe they're unhappy about something or looking for something, if you're fast to communicate, fast to respond, you can solve these issues much faster, or at least notify them. Whereas somebody asked you something and they're waiting for 24 hours to get a response, they're probably not going to be too thrilled. If you go to your spouse and ask them something and they just don't respond for 24 hours, you probably wouldn't be happy. You probably wouldn't have a spouse, to be honest, but that's the same thing. So the second part of that is scheduling. So there are a lot of times where your bookings end and your next booking is, say, 3 days away, 4 days away, and you have, I call them odd days. They're scattered between bigger bookings and you don't really know what to do with them. So you got to reduce the price on those, or best of all, we try to offer those days to the tenants or people staying right before or right after. We said, hey, we can give you an extra 2 days for half off, 2 days earlier, or 2 days after your stay. Try to offer those deals. You'd be surprised. A lot of people have reservations about booking a stay for too long, but if offered a incentive, they will actually extend it. So that is a benefit for you, and it's a benefit for them. So there's other tips. Follow us. We're going to show you some videos of what we've done. We have some advice on furniture, on setup, on management, you name it, we've got it. We're going to make a more detailed video on each of these items, so it will help you avoid making some of the mistakes we've made, and hopefully it will allow you to be successful in this process. We wish you nothing but the best. If you would be so kind as to subscribe to get the notifications when we post these videos, it would help us, and I appreciate you watching. Thank you.